I think one of the crucial pieces here that I want to pull out, especially with regard to the fires that Los Angeles has experienced over the last week, is the lack of ability for tribes in this part of the country to engage in any sort of like real indigenous land management practices. The kinds of practices that really over, hundreds and thousands of years were developed specifically to avoid this kind of disaster. Because
Yeah,
we
it
can
worked perfectly.
yeah, like because we can talk obviously about the like there's absolutely a climate change related aspect here, like more varying seasons. We just had two incredibly wet years followed by like what is shaping up to be one of the driest wet seasons in living memory in California, and we'll talk about that a little later. But it's also the case that all of these areas in the hills had not had any sort of like indigenous land management practices, no prescribed burns, none of it for decades. Right? Sam, could you help us out with a little bit of like what are some of those practices? And in particular, since I think most people who don't live in the West aren't familiar with the term, what is a prescribed burn and how does it work?
So, um, this is where my jack of all trades really comes in because, funny enough, my dad is also he was a retired fireman. He's a retired fireman, but he was a fireman of 30 years. So I really know the difference between a prescribed burn, but also a cultural burn. So I can speak most succinctly on cultural burns because I had the honor of attending one. I think I understand the concept just a little bit better than prescribed fires because I have never actually been employed as a member of LA County Fire or anything like that. But the methods are somewhat similar. So both require just burning during a time when it wouldn't be a red flag warning. So for cultural burns, and I believe also for prescribed fires, the focus is that there's a high humidity and a high pressure. So that way there's very low wind. And so you're just trying to find like those nice, cool, humid days when the chances of a fire are lowest. And that means that it will be a cool burning fire. It's also going to be on a smaller piece of property. So for cultural burns, it's pretty much exclusively manual labor where you're bringing things into the pile and then you're burning those piles one at a time and really monitoring them to make sure that no sparks fly into other areas.